I am not the candidate of Black America, although I am Black and proud. I am not the candidate of the women's movement of this country, although I am a woman, and I'm equally proud of that. I am the candidate of the people of America.
In 1968, Shirley Chisholm became a pioneer in American politics as the first Black woman elected to the United States Congress, and again in 1972 as a candidate for the President of the United States. By challenging long-entrenched political norms, Chisholm's bold actions created a significant turning point in the traditional landscape of American governance. It also provided a platform from which to become an unapologetic champion of change for gender and racial equality and pave a more inclusive path forward for marginalized voices in politics and society. Shirley Chisholm was born Shirley St. Hill in 1924 in Brooklyn, New York to Charles and Ruby Seal St. Hill, natives of Guyana and Barbados who were employed as a factory worker and a seamstress. At the time of Chisholm's birth, racial discrimination was running rampant throughout American society, as the Supreme Court's 1896 Plessy v. Ferguson ruling and the rise of Jim Crow laws made racial segregation the law of the land. Although the 1920 passage of the 19th Amendment had recently given women the right to vote, females were light years away from achieving equal treatment and opportunities. However, young Shirley Chisholm was largely sheltered from the discriminatory realities of being an African American female, as she spent 5 formative years of her childhood in Barbados with her grandmother, Emmeline Chase Seal. It was her grandmother who taught young Shirley to read and write, impressing upon her the importance of a good education. It also was her grandmother who showed Shirley how to be confident and fearless in the face of inconsideration, which later she drew upon in her spirited battle against the entrenched political establishment. At age 9, Chisholm returned to Brooklyn and later graduated from the prestigious Brooklyn Girls High School in 1942, before attending Brooklyn College, where she started on the debate team and advocated for female leadership opportunities. Although Chisholm's professors encouraged her entry into politics, she instead chose to become a nursery school teacher because it was a safer choice. This path soon led her back to Columbia University for a master's degree in early childhood education and into a new position as the consultant to the New York Division of Daycare. It was Chisholm's experiences in this role that helped her fully understand the extent of discrimination for marginalized communities and move her into political action. In 1953, Chisholm successfully campaigned for Lewis Flagg Jr. to become Brooklyn's first African American judge, and in 1954 joined the Belford-Stuyvesant Political League, where she fought for African American economic empowerment because of her own successful experiences, as well as a wave of civil rights activism sweeping the nation, and the rise of vocal feminists challenging established norms. Chisholm became even more emboldened in her political aspirations. In 1964, she successfully ran for the New York State Assembly, where, in 5 years' time, her actions sparked a turning point for marginalized communities through helping domestic workers get unemployment benefits and improving opportunities for underprivileged students to attend college. In 1968, due to her recent political success and an open U.S. congressional seat in her area, Chisholm decided to run for the U.S. House. Unlike her Manhattan-born, African-American rival, civil rights leader James Farmer, who she called an outsider, Chisholm took her campaign to the streets of the Brooklyn Bedford-Stuyvesant community where she lived. Chisholm showed her commitment to and respect for the community and its diversity by communicating with Puerto Rican residents in fluent Spanish. She adopted the campaign motto, "Unbought and Unbossed," and promised to fight for them in Congress. Her campaign strategy worked as she won the election by a 2-to-1 margin to become the first Black female elected to the U.S. Congress. Once elected, Chisholm refused to be sidelined. Despite the fact that she was from Brooklyn, she was undaunted by her assignment to the House Agricultural Committee, where she achieved success in broadening the food stamp program and played a pivotal role in establishing SNAP, a program to provide food security for women, infants, and children. At the same time, she co-founded the Congressional Black Caucus and demanded to be put into positions where she could better advocate for the needs of her constituents at home.
But we are entering We are entering a new era in which we must, as Americans, demand stature and size in our national leadership. Leadership which is fresh, leadership which is open, and leadership which is receptive to the problems of all Americans. I have faith in the American people.
As a result, Chisholm was later assigned to the Veterans Affairs Committee and the Education and Labor Committee. There, she successfully fought for Head Start and the 1972 Title IX Amendment that ended gender discrimination in federally funded educational institutions and sports programs nationwide. During Chisholm's time in Congress, she introduced 50 pieces of legislation, mostly focused on gender and racial equality. In Congress, her actions earned her the nickname Fighting Shirley, because she refused to back down when her male colleagues disregarded the issues she supported and often remarked, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair."
Do you think that America is ready for a woman president?
I think America is more ready for a woman president than it has ever been before.
In 1972, Chisholm made the bold move to run for President of the United States as the first woman and the first African American to seek a major party nomination to that position. Although she was a Democratic Party candidate of considerable substance and experience, Chisholm was widely dismissed by most of the time, even her own party. In fact, she was denied access to aired primary debates, and only after initiating legal action was she granted the opportunity to give one singular speech. Chisholm knew she was facing an uphill battle, as she struggled to consolidate support amongst her two largest constituencies, minorities and women. Somewhat surprisingly, sexism was very prevalent, even within the Congressional Black Caucus, and many of her black male colleagues shifted support to white male candidates with a better chance of winning. Nonetheless, Chisholm focused her underfunded campaign on coalition building among her supporters, with the goal of achieving enough delegates to influence the party platform regarding her favorite issues and a potential minority cabinet position appointment. Unfortunately, after earning the support of only 152 delegates, or 10% of convention attendees, Chisholm lost the nomination, and with it, any chance for wielding influence, as George McGovern earned a spot on the ballot in a landslide victory after achieving 1,729 delegates. After losing the nomination, Chisholm returned to Congress where, in 1977, she became the first African American and only the second woman ever to serve on the House Rules Committee, and spent the rest of her career fighting for progress until her retirement in 1983. Despite the fact that Shirley Chisholm did not achieve the presidential nomination in 1972, her bold actions in the political arena throughout her career made her a catalyst for change in America. Each rung on the political ladder that Chisholm ascended created a turning point for marginalized populations through providing an expanded platform from which to advocate for progress through policies and programs. Today, Chisholm's legacy lives large through the growth of diversity and changing nature of political discourse in state houses nationwide, as well as in the halls of U.S. Congress, and even our nation's executive branch.
Not only was Shirley a first, as the first Black woman elected to the House of Representatives, she was disruptive, she was brave, she was a trailblazer. In fighting injustice, she was an inspiration. Very often, iconic leaders can be singularly defined by one great speech and some powerful quotes. I think it is tempting to do that with Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, but it would be a disservice to do so.
Unbought and unbossed, Shirley Chisholm changed the political narrative that paved the path to past, present, and future progress for all people, regardless of sex, race, or socioeconomic status.
So I realize that this is a rough road, but a catalyst for change in a society is usually persona non grata with those who have been the beneficiaries of the system. A catalyst for change has to be able to withstand the insults, the humiliations, the abuses, and the slurs. What's wrong with my running for president of this country? After all, for 15 years, I have been the ghostwriter for a lot of them.